we saw Smile.
We did see Smile.
Yeah, quick review of Smile.
Yes.
It's good.
It's fucking incredible.
It's getting really underrated.
I am shocked at just how much people are like against it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, granted, like, I mean, it's got like a letterboxd of 3.2, which I'm like,
it's majority 3-star reviews.
Which I'm like surprised because, like, okay, yes, I do think it's not the most original, like, you know, film,
but it does a lot of things better than a lot of other horror films recently.
Quite frankly, I don't think you don't have to constantly make an original movie.
Yes.
I think it's completely. I love the idea of someone going, you know what? I watched this movie once and I thought it was really, really good, but there was like this idea that I got from it where it's a similar idea, but he went, but what if it was like this instead?
What if they Smile?
Like, okay, a Venom movie. This is like an idea about like just floating around a Venom movie.
Yeah.
But it's basically like a David Cronenberg film.
Yeah.
Where very similar, you know, chances are probably like very similar plot line to that. But that's alright. I feel like that's okay because you're still doing it your own way.
Yes.
We're going, okay, like here's a Venom movie as if like fucking David Cronenberg directed it.
Yeah.
Where it's tons of body horror and all that. But it's like it's still very much, you know, but it's like Smile is very much, you know, it's bits of The Ring, there's bits of Hereditary, there's bits of, you know, like James Wan films.
Very James Wan.
Like it's like James Wan doing like an A24 like Ari Aster movie, essentially.
Yeah.
It's like that's what it's like, and that's like great. That's
definitely
sick.
the final act.
Yeah, like final act especially feels like ripped out of that, and it's like it's interesting, and I do think as well, which spoilers. I've seen a lot of people angry with it because it doesn't end with a happy ending.
Yes,
that seems to be a big complaint. I was talking to someone yesterday who saw it and they enjoyed it, but they said that when they were leaving, a lot of people were complaining at the fact that it ended with a happy ending. Oh, sorry, that it ended with a dark ending.
But I love that.
And
I thought it was brilliant. I thought it would be stupid for it to end with a happy ending.
I genuinely think because it's interesting because I understand why people want it, but. There's one thing I'm getting really tired of in horror movies, and it's horror movies where they explore trauma, but they treat trauma like a supervillain that needs to be defeated.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the film, the person defeats their trauma, and it's all happy end.
Never sad again.
Yeah, I love the idea that this film takes on a fucking incredibly nihilistic view and basically just says like, you know, trauma like can never be, you know, defeated. And it's like, it's a very nihilistic view, and it's not going to be for everyone, and I completely understand that, and that's absolutely fine if that's like not your thing. But, and I don't necessarily feel that director believes in that.
Yes.
What I do think is that director thought of that nihilistic view, and saw the fact of you can actually make some really scary horror with that.
Yeah.
You can make some really visceral stuff with that, and it's, you know, that, and that's I think why it works a lot better than other films. And the thing is, I have no problem with those kind of films where they have like trauma. It's like, oh, it gets defeated. I don't mind that. I think some films do it really well.
Yeah.
Like Invisible Man does it really well. The Night House does it quite well. Like there's plenty of films where they do have those almost Stephen King-esque endings. Mike Flanagan, like his Haunting, like Haunted Hill House, Haunted by a Man is very similar. Where they, you know, it's like, and they're great.
Yeah.
But there should also be a space where someone can make a horror movie that's incredibly dark and incredibly like nihilistic and incredibly like, you know, and being able to do that until they're going, okay, here's a horror movie that's like the opposite of that. I think both these can exist because I think horror at the end of the day is a genre that's meant to scare you and it's meant to
this is my big thing with this film is more so, I mean, I've been watching a lot of horror films lately because obviously Spooktober. And I watched the new Hellraiser last night. The big difference between Smile and the new Hellraiser is that Smile is scary. No, but this is such a massive thing. Is that we see a lot of people seem to have this notion now that horror's primary job isn't to scare you, it's to make you think.
Like elevated horror. That's like the big thing.
Horror.
Which is like a lot of A24 films now.
Which is wrong. Don't get me wrong, I think you obviously can take whatever you want from anything.
Yeah.
But this is a genre built on scares. Yeah. And so I think to throw away a movie which is, I mean, I don't think Smile has anything else in its mind other than, oh, I'm gonna scare you. I think that is its primary focus. I think that never stops being its primary focus.
I think I think it's like I think its primary focus of Smile is to scare you. Yeah. But also not necessarily through like using jump scares, just general scares. It's also just the atmosphere it creates.
Yeah, the atmosphere is terrifying.
And that's like the idea of like you're watching something that feels like evil almost.
It's genuinely the equivalent of watching an 2-hour long Panic Attack.
And that's the thing, and that's why it works so well. It's like because it has that vibe to it where it's like, and that's like, but also as well, it commits to being a horror.
Yes.
That's why one of the things I love about Hereditary is Hereditary, which is very similar to Smile, like almost like very, very similar. Yeah. Where it's like both talk about themes of trauma, but both are also very nihilistic. Yeah. But as well, both commit to being horror movies.
I think people took the wrong idea from Hereditary. I think from Hereditary, which I agree, Hereditary is just kind of a bit of a fucking scary movie.
It is. It's an incredibly scary movie, but I do think it's also it's more of a family drama first than it is a horror movie.
But I think people have taken the wrong idea from Hereditary. I think people have taken the idea of telling stories about trauma and telling. Yeah, I think people have gone, ooh, this was a cool drama, and then have now applied that to every other horror film ever made.
Yeah, where it's like, I think what works about Hereditary is it's a family drama first, but it's not a phrase.
Well, the thing is, I'd argue it's a horror film first.
Well, yeah, I think it's like, I mean, I would say like it still has like.
I'd say that's what works.
The horror, yeah, it's like, but I think like to me, I like the idea of how it's able to so effortlessly blend the drama, and then go, it still has the horror element, but then by the end,
forgets about
exactly, it's a drama, but like it feels like a drama that's filmed by someone like who knows horror. It's a drama filmed by a horror filmmaker, because the way the film ramps up and the third act fully goes into the horror, and it totally goes like, and it's like, and I feel like that.
I think what Smile does interestingly then is Smile never gives up. Smile is a straight up horror film from the start.
Yeah, from the beginning, and never stops. Yeah.
I mean, it
but
was
it's like it takes but it's like it takes pieces from like Hereditary and stuff, where it's like it still is a straight up horror, but then it goes like, but it adds like those pieces in. It's almost like it's making like it's almost like. Smells like a stew almost, where it's like it takes like these different ingredients for different things, like The Ring, like using like the 7 days, like like with like the pacing of the story, and obviously Hereditary is like more sort of like focus on trauma and like that nihilistic like worldview it has, but then and just the general sort of focus on trauma from like a lot of these other movies, and it blends them all together, and then obviously like the more the mind, like the horror mindset of the James Wan, with like the scares and like some of the shot work and stuff. It's like a bunch of different things that work really well, and it is frustrating when I do see people get upset at the film for having a like negative ending, because I feel like horror is one of the best genres to do those kind of endings.
The genre to do those endings.
It's exactly, like horror is meant to scare you, it's meant to make you uncomfortable. I feel like too many times I've walked out of horror films feeling great, if that makes sense, where I'm like, yes, I was scared, but you know what, the evil was defeated, like, you know what I mean? It's like, no, exactly. And again, like I don't mind films that do that. I don't mind that, but I think we've been getting way too much of that.
No, I think
where I feel like every single horror film now needs to end with the lead character walking away from the thing while inspirational music plays behind them. And then you see them, whether they're like covered in blood or something, like, and that's how it ends. There's too many of those coming out, and I appreciate Smile being a film where it kind of gives you that before ripping it away from you and almost laughing at you for thinking it was going to end like that.
I do think what's interesting about Smile is how obvious of a franchise starter it is without succumbing to that.
Like you could do more with it.
There is, let's be honest, by this time in 10 years' time, we will have 5 Smile movies.
Well, it's doing really well.
Yeah.
It's doing like extremely well. So I mean, but even then, like, I wouldn't mind doing more as long as they're good.
I think it will eventually stop being good.
Probably.
But at the same time,
the next one will probably be shit.
Yeah.
Like unless it's made by the same person and they have ideas.
The actual Smile iconography is fantastic.
Yeah,
the Smile is brilliant.
Yeah.
Obviously the first one it leaves on a cliffhanger in a way. You know what I mean? I can already see a second Smile film which is a different set of characters, but the guy returns, or like we hear about the guy getting killed or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I can already see that.
Or maybe he returns like that guy who survived like the thing where like he was in prison.
Yeah.
Like maybe something like that.
No, I mean I can see a franchise from this immediately.
Which I definitely, because I mean it's doing well. It's people for the most part seem to like it.
At the same time, it also felt weirdly uncommercial. I mean, fucking hell, there's Vor in it.
I genuinely, it was so crazy just when I was thinking like, why is this an 18?
Yeah.
I was like, it's not that bad. And it like people's faces, like
just
rip the faces off. The final creature design and the fucking end is insane. It's like metal as fuck.
The creature just ripping a jaw open.
Yeah.
To like hop inside and like vibe.
Yeah.
No, it's
like,
very.
It's the imagery in it. I genuinely don't think I've ever seen in like a studio horror.
It's very studio horror.
And I think that's why, because it was meant to be a film for Paramount Plus. That was the initial plan for it, and the test screenings for it were positive, so they went to kind of put it in cinemas instead. And I could totally see why it was going to be streaming.
Yeah.
Because it's so uncommercial. That's typically what happens with streaming movies. If they're like that, you just dump them there.
Yeah.
But I think they made the smart choice with this one. Because I do think even though it is uncommercial, people are more willing now because of stuff like A24. Like I have my issues with A24, but I can respect them for helping
Midsummer, I think that was a big hit.
For helping people become a little bit more open to different forms of horror. That's rather just the traditional, like Blumhouse jump scare horror. You become more open now. With like, it's crazy to think that like people who would never usually watch Hereditary, it's crazy when I see for like people genuinely recommend that movie.
Yeah.
Like just totally, and it's crazy when I see that, or when I see, that like a lot of people have seen it.
Yeah.
And like love it.
Well, horror
who would not typically watch
horror
that.
seems to be this kind of. I wonder if you could argue it's because horror isn't generally seen as critics' picks, but horror seems to.
Especially in the award season.
Yeah, exactly. So I wonder if that is a
Oscars never really pay attention.
Because obviously a lot of people are very snobby about that kind of stuff. Funnily enough, the people who call other people snobs are very snobby about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think horror does have this weird ability to kind of bypass all the boundaries, and anyone will watch anything.
Yeah.
You know
because there's so many different forms of horror. I'd say probably in all of the genres, horror's probably the one that's got the most variety.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the shit, there's your slashers, there's your comedy horrors, there's like your psychological horror, there's there's so many different forms of it. It's probably why it's such a huge, it's probably the biggest genre.
I'd agree, yeah.
Just in terms of the sheer volume of films and how many people, I mean, you don't really see people who are comedy fans say.
Yes.
Whereas horror, people
base their personalities around horror.
People define their whole personality by horror. People become like horror fans. Yeah. Whereas they might not be film fans, but the horror fans.
And I mean, if you think about what people go to see in cinemas nowadays,
it's superhero movies and horror.
Yeah. No,
and horror is like, I mean, Smile's budget was 17 million.
Yeah.
And I believe it's made I believe the number that's probably made is obscene. Yeah. Like compared to that, because from what from what people are saying, it's going to be number one again this weekend.
That's sick.
For its second weekend, it's going to be number one again, which is insane. And I think it's nice that we're getting that, because I hope it means. I mean, Barbarian's apparently very similar. Yeah. Which obviously it's not out here yet, but Smile has made 52 million so far on a budget of 17.
Really good.
And it's probably going to make a lot more still in the lead up to Halloween. Yeah. Halloween Ends is probably going to fucking flatline.
Yeah, probably. I think that's a case of horror going a bit far.
Yeah. But I guess with that one again, the budget's low.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really have to make that much.
Yeah,
Plus, it's the last one, so if it flops,
who
gives
cares?
a fuck? You know what I mean? They're like, well, then now they know not to. I guess he stopped at the right time. But like, but yeah, like I think like Smile was fantastic to me. Like I just absolutely adored it because it was nice to see a horror movie that tried to scare me and worked.
Yes.
Like I
for sure.
don't get scared by horror movies much anymore, which is a surprise because I get scared pretty easily in horror films.
You are a little pussy.
I'm a pussy.
He's a little pussy.
I'm a pussy. Like honestly, like horror films can scare me pretty easily.
Yeah.
But like for the most part, a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
I find myself just kind of like, oh, okay, like whoa, I'm so scared. But like, for them, like, but this one genuinely, like, I was like, fucking hell, like I was terrified of it.
Yeah.
Because of how just visceral it was.
No, for sure.
And like, I think it was nice that we have horror like that again, and I'm hoping that is kind of we're starting to signal the return of that. I know, like, obviously, franchise horrors come back, like Scream 6 is out next year, which I don't think we should be getting Scream 6 so quickly, but
there's another
like,
Saw film.
There's another Saw in the works.
But
Hellraiser obviously just came out.
It's nice to see original horror still shine.
Yeah, it's nice to see like original horror.
Even if that original horror in about 5 years will be massive franchise.
Yes, which I mean, admittedly, I do love the idea of going to see like the sequel to a shitty horror thing. Like, you know, like I kind of wish I was alive in the era when we were getting like Friday the 13th every single year.
Yeah.
And it would just get progressively
I
sillier.
think Smile will be the next big thing.
That'd be great. I mean, Scream seems to be becoming that now. Like the Scream sequel's out next year.
Hell yeah, Scream 6.
Which like I don't think we should be getting that.
Yeah.
Because it's way too early.
Yeah,
But yeah, like with that, it seems like that's like slowly starting to return. I mean, Smile. If they want to keep doing it, I'm happy to have more.
Yeah.
It's just I hope if they do it, it still keeps that, and they don't get like a studio mandate to have it be more upbeat. Considering that it seems like the common complaint is how dark it is.
I'm interested to see where it goes.
I hope they lean into it more. Yeah. If that is the case, or just ride the current line it's at now, and we don't end up with a Smile movie where it ends.
Where it ends with a smile.
It ends with a smile. When I'm smiling out of the theatre, I've got a big grin on my face because I'm like, oh, you know what? I really like that moment when the lead character walks
Smiled
away.
his way to
victory. See, yeah, like, I love it when the film ends with like the main house on fire, or a woman coming out covered in blood, but she's smiling. But she's smiling.